So embracing the possibility immunotherapy as an innovative approach for pancreatic cancer. My name is Harnaz Jhajj. I go to Westfield High School in New Jersey, and I'm a junior. So my introduction. I don't know why this is like. Okay. So my introduction basically went through like the primary focus of my paper, and it was to introduce a new treatment for those suffering from pancreatic cancer. So with pancreatic cancer holding one of the highest death rates throughout all the cancers, it's very hard to treat it, and typically doctors don't tend to focus on curing the cancer. They focus on trying to make the symptoms a little bit more minor for the patients. So I was researching a couple of different ways that you could implement a cure, and immunotherapy seemed to have caught my eye because there was like a bunch of research with it being used for other types of cancers. So I wanted to know if it could be used to treat pancreatic. Okay. And then my literature review. So current research in this field is that, so actually there was a couple of articles, some were based in China, some were even based in like Alabama, where they were conducting experimental vaccines on rats and mice. So they would take a cancer cell from pancreatic cancer, and they would essentially put it in to the mice and see how they would react. And they actually started moving towards human studies once they started taking a mouse gene and putting it into the system, like a mouse gene that had a pancreatic cancer cell, to see how our body would react. And they actually found significant research that for part of the group that it did help them, and they were able to fight off the cancer because the body detected the gene as something foreign. And they're also testing different cell therapies with pancreatic cancer. They're using stem cells to and different kind of antibodies. This one was kind of vague because I only found a couple of research articles on it. But I think throughout researching this paper, I found that it was kind of hard to research pancreatic cancer because of its high death rate. But many people don't try to treat it, and since it has a low detection rate, it's not very popular among scientists. Another problem was the cost. Immunotherapy is constantly expanding, and it's a very experimental drug throughout. Like it's very selective for what it can be used for. So using it on a lethal cancer like pancreatic cancer, the test and everything, it would just be very expensive and very hypothetical. So then my methodology and results. Data has been collected through series of experiments that have been performed, like some of the experiments that I had mentioned earlier with the mouse gene and human studies. And much of my data came from researching case studies. So I went on PubMed and clinicalstudies.org, I think, and I found a lot of information there on different variants of the same kind of experiment. It primarily displayed that there is some promise of immunotherapy being a treatment option for pancreatic cancer. There is hope, and I think that small amount of hope being used will allow more scientists to progress towards it. One thing that has been prominent and a problem, like mentioned before, this kind of treatment is expensive and extensive, so it requires a lot of resources and a lot of volunteers, and people typically aren't willing to volunteer for such a thing. So it's kind of difficult to gather results when you have such a small control group. And then so will this ever be integrated into a daily part of our society? The truthful answer is that only time can tell. The results of various studies hint that scientists will continue to work. So it's a very work in progress kind of theory, but I think with a growing group of people that are willing to test this stuff out, especially because it's moved from China and into the States, I think it is going to be progressed more. And right now, I think the last time I checked was when I had submitted my paper, but they had been doing research studies with the human control group, and they had been trying to link patterns with who it worked with and who it didn't. So they're still continuously progressing it, and I hope that my paper can contribute to the cause. That's it.
Great job, Harnaz. Yeah, you want to share your experience about the program?
I really like the program. I honestly think that I've always wanted to write a paper like this, but I don't think would have been able to write it by myself. I think Dr. Prahlad and Professor Virgil really helped me organize my paper, and especially the earlier lessons with Dr. Prahlad, where he specifically talked about certain like medical things. That's where I found out that I wanted to talk about immunotherapy. And he also helped me because in the beginning I was very vague about what I wanted to talk about. So he helped me narrow it down to a specific cancer. So overall, I really liked it, and I would recommend it to other people.
Wonderful, wonderful. Question for Harnaz, Dr. Prahlad.
Yeah, great job for that. Good presentation. So, in the research you saw, there are different types of immunotherapy, right? So, anything stood out, like what kind of cell therapy or antibody-based therapy that's being tested in pancreatic cancer?
So they actually never specified in I think the couple case studies I read, they didn't specify on like they weren't very different. A lot of them used vaccines to implement the immunotherapy, and they mixed it with radiation therapy. So they used them hand in hand. And vaccines, they were thinking because it was popular amongst the control group, it would if it was successful eventually, they would be able to like produce it widespread, and it would be like more cost friendly.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Great job.